And yes, we are back. Shouts to us for making it back. You, me, all of us. It's your boy Kexis, that's me. Special K in the building for real. And today we're gonna be looking at Diablo 4, only 666. Damn. Days left. Devs give new updates, yada 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 yada. What's changing next? I think it's actually interesting. We had 2 weekends. I level 4 characters. Only got one. I got two max: rogue and druid, and a barb and a sorcerer. I didn't really like sorcerer because I didn't it wasn't whatever. But it's interesting how so many people are spiraling about this game. Are like really just so upset with this game, like so not satisfied, and they just don't want it to succeed, or they just want it to be bad, or they in their minds they already believe it is bad and boring. And yet, Bleak Faith, Forspoken, had people defending it. It blows my mind how this game is not even out yet. It was a beta, it was a demo, and people are slamming it. And that's their opinion. That's not, I'm not saying you can't slam a game, especially if it's not what you want. I understand that. But it blows my mind how Bleak Faith isn't even like a kind of game you want to play. It doesn't. There's nothing even appealing about the game once you actually played it, and yet people who never play it, never had any intentions of playing it, defend it loyally. Someone literally comment, dude. That's another video. Anyways, let's see what this update and all this stuff is about.
So I'm hoping this video helps you out with your Diablo 4 beta withdrawals. Thankfully, the devs gave us new insight
And yeah, I'm sure everyone is also experiencing withdrawals, so they're just really anxious. People are just really antsy. I don't know why.
into what's going on with the legendary gear and weapon variety in the full game versus the beta, and a bunch of brand new details straight from the devs. And guess what? Osmongold himself
Uh-oh.
finally figured it out. The Barbarian isn't entirely a throwaway class in Diablo 4. In fact, he's pretty OP. And by the way, check this out right here. So you guys have got to check out this brand new Unreal Engine 5 game
That
called
was a
King
weird
Arthur
transition.
Legends Rise from Kabam. It's a squad RPG game featuring epic Arthurian quests, mythical weapons, and challenging foes. It also has crossplay between PC and mobile, so be sure to click the link in the description below and wishlist it on Steam right now to stay up.
I wonder how come like games that go through the trouble of like marketing and paying for streamers, how come they never actually try to make the game like fun or good? It's like they do the bare minimum to get like just a recurring amount. Like why not actually go, I don't know, try to make the game the best in this genre category?
To date on the latest news about all things King Arthur Legends Rise. One thing I love about King Arthur Legends Rise is the idea of collecting a wide variety of unique Arthurian legends, including knights, mages, rogues, and powerful iconic characters.
It's like gachas are like upgrading. Like, I mean, I don't know.
Characters of the Arthurian legend lore within the Kingdom of Amalur.
I just can't get
We'll be
behind
progressing
mobile
through
gaming, bro.
a dark and mysterious campaign as
Or, I
King
mean,
Arthur himself, taking on the daunting task
I
of
don't know.
rebuilding
It
the
looks like a
Kingdom of
mobile game,
Camelot,
so I just
providing your
I
heroes
can't get
with
behind
the
it.
ultimate fortress. You'll also want to defend the land by using mythical weapons to take on terrifying monsters that wait in the shadows. You do not want to miss out on this game, so be sure to click on the link in my description below and wishlist on Steam to stay
It's like
up
it
to date
could be
on the
cool,
latest
but you
news.
know it won't
And be
be.
sure to join the beta on Google Play, Android, in select regions starting March 27th. So check it out. All right, so
No.
let's get into it. Here we go. We have Ron Ferguson who says, PSA, the end of the Diablo 4 open beta. We are now officially 66.6 days from early access launch. That's not ominous at all. Hopefully the launch goes smoothly, of course. We're going to actually talk more about that here.
Ah, I just remembered. Some people get to play 4 days early. That's gonna be a something.
Just a moment. Now, one of the developers on Diablo 4, Joseph Apora, says this right here. I want to say, I don't think folks realize how many more legendary powers exist beyond what was on display during the Diablo 4 beta. There's a lot of bizarre, exciting, and
Bizarre.
legendaries to discover when the game goes live in June. So apparently we only got a fraction of what is offered in the full version because some of you stepped away from the beta experience kind of underwhelmed by many of the legendaries. They kind of like mess around with your critical hits, your stats, but you want to see like effects, wild stuff going on that alter your weapon or your.
Of course we do. I mean, my thing is, if it's in the game, why not showcase it? I don't buy it. Like, if it's there, why not have something that people can actually visually see? If it's so-called already in the game, you could have showcased just a little bit of it. But I understand it probably most likely was not ready yet because that's just how games go
Your abilities
nowadays.
in very cool ways. Apparently, there's something there that we have yet to discover. So, we'll discover it together during launch. Now, the Skeleton Army was actually one of the bigger complaints that I saw out of the Necro experience. Number one, people didn't like how they actually look, but also they appeared in towns. As indicated right here, it says Skeleton Army should disappear when you go into the city. And we actually have a response from one of the developers, and this is
They do
very
look kind of
exciting
weird,
news, at least to me.
I
It
guess.
kind of broke the immersion. It goes on to say this: PSA Necro Skellies showing in town is a bug and will be fixed for launch. So it's good to know that they have adjusted that now.
Yeah, a
Kevin goes on to
bug.
ask this
Yeah.
right here: the Skellies in town don't bug me, but the stupid invisible walls are killing me. Can we fix that? And you guys know when you're like roaming outside of town center, going into the open world, you like are suddenly kind of stopped.
Rubber
or trying
band.
to go through a force build. So let's see what the devs had to say about this one. Rod Ferguson goes on to confirm, yes, that's just an indication of the load on our services. Well, he doesn't say that that's going to be fixed, of course. I hope.
Of course it's not, because it's gonna be worse. If he says it's gonna be fixed, he's gonna be burned alive, because it's gonna be worse at launch. Come on, I understand. It's a tough position to be in. I get it.
That is not the experience at launch, but it seems like they're very aware of the problem. And I think the more and more we get into launch, or at least post-launch, I'm hoping that's alleviated. Definitely, or that would just bring down the experience. Now, Osmongold himself recently discovered that the Barbarian is actually really good if you build him properly. This is an indication, I think a good indication, that you could do some really cool stuff with Barbarian. And there's further details that after like level 30, 40, you can get into some skills and abilities that are not on display during the beta that will even overcharge him even more.
Yeah, so I'm definitely starting Barb. The Barb just felt the most fun, so I'm going Barb for start.
My personal experience with the Barbarian, you can do some really, really cool stuff. And there are some builds that are just not viable at all. Don't get me wrong. I feel that way about many of the different classes. I think that there still needs to be balance tweaks for basically all the classes. But yeah, it's cool to see that he discovered this for sure. Now, Roman goes on to ask the dev team several questions, and we get responses. Says this: will the senders for Hell-Tide chests be tradable between players? Number two, is there any legendary effects related to or working with evade action mechanics later in the game?
Remember maybe I said in my first video, one of the first ones, second ones, in my impressions of Diablo. The evade action mechanic is really well done. And I feel like it's done like that because they want to build upon it. In the beginning, it in a vacuum, it kind of feels like a roguelike. You choose your difficulty, you start with nothing, you progress, you progress, you progress, you progress. And it only feels like that because of how, in my opinion, how smooth the button is for evading and how everything kind of flows together well on a controller. So having a legendary that modifies the mechanic would be pretty damn cool. Modify the mechanic and then each class has a different way, or maybe like modify the mechanic so it interacts differently with other classes. That would be just like the icing on the cake.
God, that's a great one. Is there any legendary item properly facilitating Murmuring Oval's farming? Regards from Ukraine. So let's get into the reply
Regards.
here now. If you don't know, I have to clarify something because some of you might actually not know this. Senders, what are they? Senders are dropped by monsters in Hell-Tide events and can be spent to open Hell-Tide chests scattered throughout respective regions. These chests boast bountiful boons exclusive to a singular item slot such as torso, leg, or two-handed weapon if the player is killed. The senders are dropped and must be reclaimed. This is very much part of the end game system. So this is what
I
the
didn't
dev
know
team
that.
had to say right here. Nope, senders are not tradable, and dying means you'll lose some as well. Number two, yes, there is. And he's speaking to the fact
Like these guys are asking questions about something we don't even like. I don't even. I'm just excited about the game as the next person, but I don't even like. Why are you even asking questions about in game, bro?
that there is legendary fixes related to the dodge
Just
mechanic.
can't
And
wait.
furthermore, he says not at this time, which means it seems that murmuring ovals are not going to be exactly dedicated to legendaries at all, at least at this time, as he did say. Now, Mike Yerba of Blizzard goes on to say this right here. Oh, pro tip number 2. There's a mob on the left corner of the map right now that drops a level 35 one-handed mace. And other random loot, the required level of 23 through 27. You can use the occultist to put a power on the 35 mace, and it'll turn into a much lower level requirement to equip. Now, we got another response from the dev team because things are going to be changing. We got legit, but also the dev team says, enjoy this while you can. So it seems like that is definitely going to be changing in the future. And mentioning things that are changing,
I mean,
some indirect jokes from the dev team about things that are probably going to change.
that's not really a
Check
big
it out
deal
right
in my
here. It says
opinion.
Twitch streamer Duji somehow managed to solo Ashava, the Diablo 4 Beta's world boss, on hardcore mode twice. And he says, noted. I kid, ... But I think it's kind of like a tease saying, yeah, we've noticed some things that might be overpowered. Expect
You
some
don't
things
think.
to happen
You don't
and some
think.
changes to take place. That's me speculating, of course, but I think that's definitely going to be happening. Yeah, let's
Solo
talk
the
about that
war
Diablo
boss.
4 launch. Seems like there's not a lot of hope about it, considering the beta was a little bit rough around the edges, to say the least. Diablo 4 beta does not inspire hope for a smooth launch. This one is from Forbes. It goes on to say the following.
Forbes. Who cares what Forbes has to say? Forbes is not. No. But I do. I mean, come on, bro. This. The last Diablo came out 10 plus years ago. They have this Diablo on commercials and fast food events. Of course, it's not going to be super smooth. How can you expect it to be super smooth on the first day? How? How can you expect it to be super smooth on the first day? That's all I'm saying. Just be a little realistic is all I ask.
Right here. While I know it's a beta and Blizzard has said outright that there will be long lines and disconnects as they try to gather data for a smooth launch, I'm not convinced this is going to be a smooth launch. It's less than 3 months away now, and I very much don't believe that Blizzard will be able to keep up with the tidal wave of players who arrive at launch, and that we will endure a fairly long.
And this is why I'm actually not gonna do the whole I can play 4 days earlier. It's like there's no reason. There's just no reason to.
Period of problems. I think the best case scenario right now is to avoid something utterly devastating like Diablo 3's Era 37 launch, but I still don't think it's going to go great. And I hear his concerns. Of course, what we experience in the beta is going to be very different in terms of the waves and waves and waves of players during the
Yep,
actual launch
exactly.
of the game. So yeah, I'm a little worried too. I just want the offline play button, but what we did experience with the beta is this. I felt like every Friday with the first weekend of the beta, it imitated the launch of the game. It was very, very rough. The second day was a little bit better, and then the third
Third
day
day,
was
it
even
gets
better.
yeah.
Now, the second beta weekend rolled around. They said, let's do it again and try to be quicker and take on even more people and see if we can recover the servers even faster. It was kind of the same story. Friday was absolutely terrible, tons of disconnects. Saturday was actually pretty okay, but also very, very shaky. This is my experience, by the way, on Xbox Series X. And furthermore,
Nice playing
on
console.
Sunday, finally, I felt like it was stable enough to really try it out and not have an actual disconnect during, say, like a world boss event. But there were still problems. There were still lag issues. But as we went, it did improve. And I think that is going to be the similar story for launch. And we're kind
Yep.
of
I
preparing
know
for
it
those
is.
launch moments.
First day is not
We're
even gonna be. No,
somewhat
it's not worth no
ready
one's my time.
to handle, I hope, what is going to be coming, because they've hopefully imitated it. They're just going to try to scale it out, of course. Now, furthermore, it says this right here. I know This is not a universal experience. I've heard this is a better on console instead of PC and better in, say, Europe as opposed to the US, really. But it's pretty bad for me and a number of others, and if the game launches like this, it will be a problem. I will say this. If the PC has more problems than consoles, that is going to be an issue because I feel like, of course, Diablo as a franchise was first and foremost established on PC. They better not leave the PC players behind. I'm curious to see, though, at the end of the day, what the sales numbers will be consoles versus PC. I feel like the console audience is growing, but I do think, first and foremost, the PC audience is really going to be absolutely huge. So they better not neglect the PC audience. In fact, they better not neglect anyone on any platform.
Watching him play Necromancer, it just looks kind of too messy. I kind of liked being the only entity on the screen. The corpse just look kind of low res, so they look kind of like not good to look. Like they're not really aesthetically pleasing. They kind of make the screen look clunky.
Platform. Now, we have an unpopular opinion. Check it out right here. It says, all classes should be as weak as the Druid and Barbarian. The Druid and Barbarian have been the classes I've enjoyed playing the most. Specifically,
No, because we only got to level 25. The Druid, as it stands, the only main problem with the Druid is the whole energy thing. Being like you have to get your resource from a melee attack. None of the melee attacks feel good. Wind Shear was the only one that felt good, in my opinion. Other ones just felt terrible. But people are just forgetting the Druid does not even have the level 15 skill thing. So I think that is a big part of it. I think having that will allow you to very hone in on something specific so you could get more cohesion. Because the only problem with the Druid really is there's no cohesion in the tree. And that can just be, that can be fixed with some numbers and some changes, some quality of life changes. Nothing, no big overhaul or anything. It's just, there's just not a lot of cohesion or strong cohesion in the tree. Barb is not that weak. But Barb is not going to be weak because it's going to have 4 slots for 4 legendaries on top of the other slots. Or just, 4 slots in general for 4 pieces of gear. Tuned to whatever your build is trying to facilitate. Barb is not going to be weak. So this person has no idea what they're talking about. To say something is overpowered, yes, but don't say all classes should be as weak as the Druid and Bard when the Barb is not weak, and we don't actually know how strong the Druid is. I do not like people like this who just what is this opinion based off of? How is this an unpopular opinion? How can you have an unpopular opinion about a beta? Your unpopular opinion is just an opinion. It's not unpopular. We've only played the game in two weekends. I mean, no. Maybe unpopular as in what the subreddit thinks, because I guess people want Druid and Barb to be buff, but those people don't understand that people who go on Reddit subreddits for games, they just are bored. They just want to talk to someone about the game. They're not really trying to form an opinion. They're just there because they want to be bored. They want to argue. They want to feel right. Some type of validation. Why would you make a post about this? If you're an adult, you have bills, a girlfriend, wife, or kids, you have a job, you work 40 hours a week minimum. Why would you even make a post like this? Where does this opinion come from? It doesn't come from anywhere. This particular individual wants the game to be played to fit their needs because they probably played a Druid and Barb and they're kind of maybe a little upset everyone else is stronger and faster than them. So now they're pushing what they want in the form of a thread. And I don't know. I could go all day with this. It's just why would you what does this opinion even come from, bro?
Because they aren't that strong.
It doesn't even make sense.
It's actually somewhat of a challenge to kill bosses and clear dungeons.
there's difficulties we don't even know exist yet, bro. Like, like if you were to play the dude, don't get me started.
When you find a piece of good gear, it really makes a difference. It feels like your character is growing stronger. The Necromancer, Sorcerer, and Rogue are already so powerful that getting good gear is like adding icing onto the cake that's already overflowing with icing. And I think perhaps that is where maybe world tiers come into play, up the difficulty when it comes to that sort of thing. But yes, balancing is an issue right now. And I do like when a game is somewhat challenging, but I also like the feeling of being like a god, godlike, and going in there with my new build and absolutely wrecking
Destroying
and
everything.
dominating, and then twisting that build in a different direction.
Yeah, like that you just basically don't have a power fantasy playing Druid or Barb in the beginning. But you get to see other players have their power fantasies with other classes, so you're like, "Oh man, I wish my class was like their class." Or it's an unpopular opinion, "Oh, I wish their class was bad as mine, or slow as mine, or weak as mine, or whatever the opinion is." Bro. Relax.
Action with whatever gear that I find and maybe respecking. Now, I know that's going to be an issue in the late game and the end game for the full version, that respecking is not going to be realistic because of the cost. And let me know if that is a concern for you or not. Now, something that was
Yeah, something I learned also, they want to have it so each recost costs more and more and more and more and more and more, and they want to have it so eventually the recost is too expensive and they want you to play another character or make another character. I think it's stupid because it took me like 30 recosts to even understand how the druid worked. So I think it's stupid, and if that's the way they want it to be, it won't last long. People are gonna complain so much about it that it won't matter. Like, this game is getting so much criticism from every direction that the devs and people have to make jokes on Twitter just to try to put the flames out because they can smell the smoke.
really cool and noted is something very neat with the druid. Check it out right here. Your hair color determines ultimately what your animal form looks like, which I thought this was a very cool
That's kind of
touch.
cool. I mean, that's really
So it
cool.
makes it even more important with customization with the druid in terms of when you go and create your
Ooh, that
character,
white
that
is
this
hard.
actually matters. So yeah, if you want like a red werewolf,
That's kind of
then
cool.
you'd want to definitely go like a ginger druid, and you could have ginger werewolves roaming around with you. All right, so let's keep going, shall we, and get into your top comments.
You hear barking? It's my roommate's dog.
Remember to leave a comment down below. It could end up in a future video. All right, my previous video was about this one right here. It says necromancers, druids, and world bosses have a glaring issue. So let's get into this, shall we? First response comes from Trevor, who says this right here. I would like the option for zooming. I generally like how close it is, but for some battles, zooming out a little would be nice. Yeah, and have it like a smooth zoom. Right now, it's like, I believe it's only two options, correct? You have your default setting, which is right here, and then your zoom, and that's it,
Zoom,
and nothing
zoom.
in between. It's not like a scroll where you can nicely, smoothly choose like 20 different zooms, I suppose you would say, which would be cool to see that sort of thing in this game. Now, Nick K says, as far as OP classes balance, how many classes are OP to start Diablo 2 and then fall off in hell difficulty? You can't decide if they need adjusting based on level 25 out of 100.
Exactly. Literally, exactly. Rogue is cool and fine now. Up to difficulty, might not be so much. I don't know. I did make a rogue. That was just an example.
100. Think of Corpse Explosion Necro in Diablo 3. Super powerful to start leveling, and then it falls off. Yes. And again, if you like that sort of playstyle, I personally think that it shouldn't necessarily fall off. It should be something that is viable. I'm wanting more viable
That's true.
options, even more.
I think that is what should be the real that should be what the real bigger picture should be about. It should be really about each class can facilitate a certain playstyle given the skills and they are all viable. You can do them all, and there's a mixture obviously between them that who knows where the ceiling is, but at the baseline, the class should be, or the playstyle or the skill, whatever, should be viable, and it's up to the player to really find out how, or to play a certain way to really, wrap their heads around their character to get it to work.
In game, that's what I'm talking about. Now, Jathan says it may not be an ideal aesthetic, but I would guess Blizz wanted it to be easy to distinguish summons from enemies. And he's talking about the look of the Necroskeleton. I think you're absolutely correct. Now, I personally think there should be 2 to 3 different looks that are available for your Necroskeleton army, so at least you have some choices. Maybe you want them glowing red as opposed to glowing this Diablo 3 type color that they are.
Yeah,
like.
it's really the color. The glow it just makes it look like ugly. It just makes it look ugly.
Now,
If you could change, either have it be a better quality glow, I don't know, but they just look kind of like whatever.
it kind of does match the aesthetics of what's going on with his Bone Spur move, as you can see, right? Bone Spear move, excuse me. So in some ways it does make sense. It doesn't like bother me too much, but some of you are like, oh god, this is absolutely horrible. So I do hope they have some sort of option for those of you that don't like it. But there it is, the latest happenings around Diablo 4. Thank you all so much for watching. I cannot wait for June. I really want to mess more around with the rogue. Let me know what class you guys are going to go with.
Barbarian.
Launch. I am still deciding between
Barbarian.
versus Necro right now. I have some tough choices to make for sure. But thank you again, and I will see you all next time. Take care.
Barbarian. Let's go. Nice video. This is probably gonna be the only thing we can do to ease the withdrawal symptoms. Look at that. Druid sucks. Man, it's funny. It's unfortunate that I landed in Druid, but I'm kind of glad I did. I'm glad I didn't get to have this overpower experience. Now my opinion is so far my own ass that I'm not willing to see it from anyone else's lens. I'm glad I played Druid, but I'm going Barbarian. So let's see what this comment is. The open beta was the first Diablo game I have ever touched, and I was shocked how fun it was. I am the same way. I could not play Diablo 3 when it released. Someone literally gave me the game for free, and I couldn't play because my computer was so bad. I just couldn't play it. The small amount of campaign and side missions we got were enjoyable. I agree. I know that some of the more experienced players probably have a ton of problems with the game and have way more complaints, but as a noob, I had a blast and have high hopes for the full launch. I agree, and I think that is what Blizzard is. That's the groundwork. We're gonna attract new players, old players, whatever, but make sure the groundwork is there for new players to actually sink their teeths into what Diablo can be about, right? And then when the first season comes out, that's when the game can start actually trudging and getting more groundwork laid out for it to be something special. Because if you haven't played Path of Exile, I'm not gonna even pretend like I am the king or the GOAT of Path of Exile. Not even super well experienced. But there's distinct differences between Path of Exile 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0. Totally just, and I started playing it like 2.5, but 3.0 is when I took it really more serious, and I still didn't like it all that much. But anyways, that's the video. Man, people are something else. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the beta, are looking forward to playing. So I'm gonna play Barb or Druid. Nah, I gotta see patch notes. If they release patch notes, then I don't know. I don't know about Druid. But thanks for watching. That's the video. Tell someone you appreciate them, or tell someone you love them. And I appreciate you guys watching. See you next video. Peace.